Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Small Bites. Today we're going to talk about queer erasure. Now it's the summer of Pride here at TGM. We got a lot of activities going on. And in this episode, we want to talk about what happens when people who are part of marginalized communities or part of the queer community are not actually recognized or honored as part of that community. Now, of course, when we talk about any kind of marginalized community or oppressed identities, we talk about privilege, and that's really important. People who hold visible markers of marginalized identities, people who maybe visibly code as queer or as other kinds of identities, experience more oppression, experience more targeted hate and kind of more of that aggression toward them. And so we spend a lot of time talking about that. That's really important. The other side of that, though, is erasure. Again, that's when somebody who maybe doesn't hold some of those markers or who doesn't quite fit someone else's idea of what a community member might be, when they're not honored, when they're not seen as part of that community, it is really dangerous and it is really detrimental to someone's well-being. So, for example, somebody who identifies as a lesbian but may have more of an appearance of a traditional heterosexual kind of standard femininity may not be seen as queer. Or someone who is bisexual who may be involved in relationships with somebody of an opposite gender get erased and people sort of treat them or think that maybe they don't actually belong to the queer community because of those pieces of their identity. Now, you may have heard the term passing, like white passing or straight passing. And in the past, that has almost been used as a compliment, like, oh, wow, couldn't even tell that you were queer. And that feels really terrible. So we don't really use that term anymore. We don't really like to talk about passing because that is a part of erasure. Telling someone that they're doing a good job not being who they are is not a compliment. Now, queer voices are silenced and erased and deprioritized kind of across the board, both by people and by systems, including systems like algorithms that run social media or systems that promote people within organizations or jobs. And sometimes those kinds of people or systems completely erase voices or completely do not see someone's contribution. So when thinking about the diversity of sexual identity that we know now, we don't think about gay and straight as much anymore because there's a whole spectrum. And you may have heard some of these words like pansexual, demisexual. In terms of gender, we not only have trans folks, but we have non-binary, we have demi-girls, we have demi-boys. There are lots of different kinds of identities. And it's really important that we honor those identities, even if we, someone on the outside, don't visibly think that that person meets whatever kind of arbitrary criteria we have for that. So what happens when somebody's identity is erased or not valued or their voice is not honored as a part of that community? It causes a lot of disruption. It causes a disruption in identity development, which we know is a really important part of the lifespan. Developing identity has a lot to do with how we move around the world, how we experience conflict, how we experience positive relationships, how we move around the world in general. Often when I work with people who are bisexual or pansexual or have some of those kind of identities, they feel like they're not queer enough. They feel like there's some gatekeeping that if they don't perform queerness enough or if they don't prove it, then it's not valid. That leads to significantly increased rates of depression, of anxiety. It is an experience of minority trauma. And then there's just the daily kind of oppression, the daily struggle. So, for example, if somebody who is maybe traditionally feminine and looks, maybe like what a traditional heterosexual woman looks like, but they're queer, that person is going to spend a lot of time coming out. They're going to have to correct people constantly. They're going to have to answer things like, well, you don't look gay, or, well, you just haven't found the right man yet. Full disclosure, I hear that shit all the time. And it is different, I think, than people who experience targeted hate. So again, I'm not trying to compare erasure to, violent oppression, but it does make a difference in people's lives. So as we wrap up the Summer of Pride, as we continue talking about queer issues, I want to invite you to consider who in the community that you know that might be feeling erased, not queer enough, not trans enough, whatever these identity pieces that people feel they're not good enough. I want to invite you to validate that, to see those identities in those people and to not only honor it, but really celebrate it and really help them celebrate it. Wishing you the very best Summer of Pride. We are going to keep talking about Pride issues even when it's not Pride season, because we're a queer-owned business and we have lots of queers that work here. So please stay tuned to all of our social media platforms. Hit us up on our website. We'll see you next time.